Hello, my name is Tiffanie and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. Yesterday I have already filmed this video and edited it and I hated it, so we're going to do a new approach in this video. I was trying to cram the full page of justetfs.com into one video and it was way too much. It was over, I think, half an hour long and I didn't want to put that out because I was editing, and in the middle of editing I was like burning out because it's so much information and I just did not like it. So we're going to shorten the video. We're going to make two parts. This is going to be part one of me explaining a ETF page on justetfs.com. I hope you enjoy the video. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to scoot over so you can see the name really quick. So we have the Vanguard. Vanguard is the creator of this ETF. Then we have the FTSE All World, which is the index that it's following. Then we have the UCITS, which I didn't know, but it's some kind of law in Europe, which makes it feel more safe. Then we have ETF, because it is an ETF. Then we have USD, because that's the coin, the currency that it is tracking. Well, they track in the USD currency. And then we have accumulating, which will make more sense in the video. Then right underneath the name, we have the ISN number, which I feel like is the identification number of this ETF. Every ETF has its own identification number, the ISN number. This number is very useful when you want to compare ETFs through Google or ChatGPT or with a professional or with friends, because I feel like the ticker next to it is, Google doesn't always know what you mean, what's a ticker, but if you put the ISIN number, they will know for sure. So I prefer the ISIN number, but if you're just talking to friends, the ticker is obviously easier to read or to send them. Then below that we have the TER, which is some type of tax that you have to pay on this ETF, or some type. I'm not sure if it's a tax, but it's some kind of fee for sure that you have to pay. So you want this percentage to be as low as possible. So I feel like 0.90% is quite good. Then next to it we have the distribution policy, which is accumulating. So you have two types of distribution policies. We have accumulating and we have distributing, which distributing basically means that they will pay dividends, and accumulating is instead of paying the dividends to the investor, they will reimburse it into itself, into the ETF back, which makes it grow faster. So that's very nice. I'm from Belgium. The dividends is more heavily taxed than the accumulating ones, so I try to have as much accumulating ETFs as possible. I do have one distribution ETF just to try it out, but the main focus is definitely on accumulating ETFs for me. Then next to it we have the replication, which is physical, which before going into this I thought all ETFs were physical, because that makes sense. So physical basically means that Vanguard has the ETFs, not the ETFs, but the underlying assets physical, they own them. So that made more sense. There is also synthetic ETFs, which is basically with a swap contract within another financial institution, which I don't know much about. If you know more about the synthetic ETFs, you can let me know in the comments, because I was trying to look it up and it seemed very complicated, the way they explained it on YouTube. Like, I was trying to find shorts for it because the longer videos were too insane for me to follow, and then the shorter versions, the shorts on YouTube, were also difficult to follow. Maybe that's my fault. Well, not my fault, but that's my situation because I don't have a background in economics. but I just did not understand it. Because it came to my attention, I looked through all my ETFs. And all my ETFs are physical, which I like because I don't understand the other one. And I don't want to invest in something I do not understand. So that is that. And then next to it, we have the fund size, which is 40 million. For gold ETF, it makes sense that it's having a lot of money into them. Then next to it, we have the inception date, which is just the starting date of the ETF, which was in 2019, which is quite a long time ago. So that is nice that the ETF is still existing. And then we have the holdings, which is the amount of companies that are within the ETF. Okay, that was it for section 1. We're going to move over to the second section, which is telling us more about the price of the ETF. Now this is a price on the 11th of June because that's when I took the screenshots. So here we have the price, 159 euros and 81 cents. Then underneath it we have 0.09%. I don't know what that means, and I also didn't find it online, so I have no idea. We're gonna just glance over that. Next to it, we have the daily changes of the price. I don't really care about the daily changes because a lot of things can happen day to day in the market, so I'm not focusing on that. Right underneath it, we have the price comparison of the 52-week mark. Over the 52 weeks, we took all the prices, and then we're gonna rank it like, is the ETF expensive right now, or is it on the lower side? Usually it is on the higher side because the market is going up. So that's what's going on there. Then next to it we have a description, which is kind of the name, more details. So we have a lot of things that are in the description that's also in the name. So we have Vanguard, we have the All World, we have accumulating, then we have use the sampling technique. The replication is physical, so they own the shares within the ETF Vanguard, but they are not doing a full replica. They have advisors over at Vanguard, and they are selecting which shares of the FTSE All World they are going to pick to put in their ETF. So it's not a full replica. I don't know enough about the index to know if that's good or not. It's a pretty popular ETF. I feel like Vanguard is also a well-known institution. It's quite a big one, so I'm not really worried if their advisors are saying like these are the better shares, then I'm just gonna take it. And they are domiciled in Ireland, so every ETF has to have a country where they are domiciled in, and that just happened to be Ireland. I feel like Ireland is very, very popular as a country within the ETF world. I'm not really sure why, but it's just something that I noticed. Okay, I think we can move over to the third section, which is basically a chart. It's all in green, which is nice. It's pleasant to look at. You kind of see how the ETF is evolving. You can, right now it's on the 5-year mark. You can also set it on the 1-year mark or on the maximum. I wouldn't do it the little time zones, like the day or the month or the even year to date. It just means like from 1 January until now, how much has it changed. We're going to move over to the next part, which is to make comparisons. I didn't do this because I wanted to focus on my world ETF, not mine, the world ETF I am investing in. So I'm kind of skipping over this part, but the website is free and you can use this tool to compare ETFs, which I think is very nice. It's a nice feature. We're going to go over the 5th section, which is a little bit of a bigger section. Now, a lot of these things I already mentioned, so I'm gonna just skim over that to see if you find anything new. The investment focus is the world, which makes sense in a world ETF. The investment approach is long-term, which I feel like most investments are long-term. I'm going to check if I have any ETFs that are short-term, but I don't think so. Most of them are long-term. The sustainability is no, which basically means that they are within the ETF, there are companies or sectors that are not considered sustainable, like fuel. An unhashed currency version basically means that not only is the ETF that you have the risk of that the market moves up and down, you also have the risk that the coins, the US dollar, and for example the euro, will differ in price over time. And volatility, which basically means the risk factor. We will go over that in another section, so I'm not going to go too much into that. But before reviewing this justetf.com website, I didn't really check the risk factor, and I think it's interesting to see. I'm going to look up my other ETFs to see what the risk factor is over there when I move on to that section for sure. And then that was all the basics. The rest I have already explained. And then next to it, we have similar ETFs. So on this website, you can compare the ETFs yourself if you want a specific one, or you can go into a little bit of a rabbit hole to see similar ETFs and compare those. Then we go over the next section, which is legal structure, which I found very interesting because I didn't know anything about it. I thought in my silly brain that Vanguard would just do everything. That's absolutely not the case. There is actually a lot of companies or organizations involved to make an ETF happen, and I thought that was super interesting. So the fund structure is the open-end investment company, which basically means that the shares underneath can change, which I don't mind. And then the UCITS compliances is based follow a certain law in Europe, which makes it feel safer. So I'm very happy that this is a yes over there. I'm not sure if all of my ETFs have this. Administration is Brown Brother Harrisman Fund, Administration Services in Ireland. Not sure why it's limited, but they are managing the order-taking infrastructure that the ETF is using, and they are calculating the daily prices and stuff like that, which I think is very interesting. That's a different company for some reason. And then we have the investment advisor, which is obviously Vanguard. This is kind of the creator of the ETF, like the brains behind it. Custodian bank does. Like, I didn't really find that. We're gonna move on to the revision company, which basically revise like the ETF to see if everything is working. They also make market reports, they check the laws, they check the tax efficiency of it all, which I think is very nice that this is a different company. It's advising a Vanguard for this. And then the fiscal year ends, it's less of my, I don't really care when the year begins and ends. And then for some reason the Swiss have a difference, are mentioned in like in the legal structure. I don't know why. Then last section we are going to review today is the tax status, which Belgium is not on there. So this is not important to me personally. If you happen to be in one of those countries, you can look into it, and I think it's nice that Just ETF is giving you some answers into that. I feel like the Belgium tax situation might be too difficult to explain in just a few words. So maybe that's why they are not mentioned. So we are just going to skip over it. I'm so sorry. But if you want to know if you are in a certain, you will probably be in a certain country, you can just Google the tax situation or find somebody who is talking about ETFs within your country, and they will explain it in a lot more detail for you. And I would just advise to do your own research. We are going to stop the video here because I'm filming. It's already 20 minutes in, and I feel like the filming part is okay at 20 minutes because I will have to edit it a little bit down. And I don't want to go over like 40 minutes again. It was insane. So we are going to end the video here. I'm going to go back in the middle of it. My hair is looking fine. Okay. I hope this video is interesting. There will be a part 2, I think next month somewhere, because I kind of have like the order of my videos every week. So probably next month we will talk about just ETF.com again. And we are going to go over the last sections together. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you will check out my future video so you can have an all-around ID. I hope you are not annoyed that I'm making 2 parts, but it was very long and I feel like people would just not watch the whole video. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I thank you all for watching. I hope to see you next week. Bye bye.